Hello, my name is Raquel Sanchez. I'm a lecturer in the Department of Business Organization and member of the Research Center on Production Management and Engineering at Universitat Politécnica de Valencia. And in this presentation, which is part of the Business Continuity Managers Training Platform project funded by the European Union, best practices related to organizational resilience will be shown. The learning output of this presentation covers the description of two best practices related to organizational resilience. The presentation is structured as follows. Firstly, there is an introduction describing the importance of being resilient. The second and third sections describe two best practices related to organizational resilience to finish in section 4 with the main conclusions. A resilient organization is considered to be one that is prepared, have adaptive capacity and recovery abilities to bounce back from any disruptive event. To be resilient is of utmost importance to adapt to change, manage risks, to guarantee business continuity, to maintain reputation, ensure employees' well-being, achieve sustainable performance, and finally comply with regulatory aspects. The first best practice involves the proposal of a methodology to enhance organizational resilience. The first phase is related to planning, in which the project is started. It's the launch and startup phase of the project. The second part of the methodology is the make block. This part involves the more operational phases of the methodological proposal, in which the necessary information is identified to analyze the resilient index, and once the resilient capacity is evaluated, the company is ready to make informed decisions regarding the implementation of necessary action to improve organizational resilience. The third part involves the check block, in which the implementation, execution, and overall operation of the company are analyzed to ensure they are in line with what was agreed upon in the plan block. Finally, we can find the act block, in which continuous improvement and innovation close the methodological loop and build a decisive competitive advantage through the ongoing enhancement of organizational resilience. This graphical representation shows each of the previous phases. The first phase involves communication of the strategic importance of improving the resilient capacity of the company, definition of the scope and range of the analysis, definition also of the objectives, selection of the working group, and establishment of responsibilities together with the working calendar. The second phase involves the identification of relevant information sources, the task assignment, and the collation processes and refinement of the information to assess the resilience capacity of a company. After the collection of the relevant information, the company should assess the resilient capacity of the company. To do so, there are different methods to assess enterprise resilience. One of them is the self-assessment tool to improve enterprise resilience, also known as Satir tool. The fourth phase involves the analysis of the current situation to define the ideal future one. To facilitate the transition from the as-is model to the to-be model, the organization should select the optimal preventive action to be implemented and the registration actions to be performed. The fifth phase involves the monitoring and evaluation of the actions implementation at that point, but also in the long term to establish a sustainable feedback system. Finally, the last phase is related to the continuous improvement. That involves the staff awareness and training, the periodic monitoring, and the resilience conducting audits. The second best practice is related to the fact that in order to enhance the recovery capacity of companies after the occurrence of a disruptive event, the information of such an event should be registered properly. In this sense, resilient organizations should be able to create, register and distribute the knowledge quickly and efficiently for recovering from a disruption in the shortest possible time and cost. The first part of the information record should gather data on what has happened, such as, for example, the disruptive event description, when it happened, personnel and departments involved, to mention a few. Followed by the registration of the information of the actions performed when the disruptive event happened. All this piece of information will serve as a basis to define a protocol to ensure efficient and consistent responses when the same or similar disruptions happen, and Satir tool offers a structured approach to register such a piece of information. As conclusion, it is worth mentioning that to be more resilient, organizations should focus on preparing and anticipating rather than waiting for the negative event to happen and then recovering. The enhancement of organizational resilience requires a well-founded methodology to support the decision-making process, as shown in the first best practice previously explained. The negative consequences of an event are less if the organization is proactive and preventive than passive and reactive. Moreover, to recover efficiently, it's important to have the appropriate knowledge available to take the right decision, as shown during the second best practice. And with the scientific references of this learning material, the presentation is finished. Thank you very much for your attention.